and welcome to Through the Mist with me, your host Ryan. This is a Void Invest Theory podcast where we look at the law and try and understand how it all works. In this episode, we'll be looking at power versus magic. Hello everybody, welcome to another fabulous episode of Through the Mist. How has your time been? Hope you're having a good time overall. Hope it's all going well. I hope you Mistbusters out there are feeling great and fanciful and wonderful. Yeah, so new episode. Welcome to April. Yeah, we got some things to go over, some fun, some ideas before we get into the meat of the episode. As always, I put out a question last week related to the episode on the Instagrams at @through_mist if you want to come and join and follow. And it was about if we saw other demigods perform curses, what would they be? We had a couple of responses. So this is obviously following up from the fact that we only actually seen Apollo and Ares kids do curses. In the theory we said it would probably be related to their godly parent in some way. We got some responses, and we've got quite a few from Darian. Goes through a number of the gods. So thanks you, Darian, for that. We have Dionysus. Every strawberry you eat is bitter. Demeter, mealworms in your cereal. Aphrodite, perpetual bad hair days. Poseidon, fish gonna bite your toes. Hades, the constant tingling on your spine, like something is watching you from the shadows. That one's a bit spooky. That one's just a little bit spooky. Athena, can never find your place in the book you were reading. Bookmarks disappear. Dog ears unfold. Dust jackets write themselves back onto the cover. Darren says this is the weakest one, but it's still funny, so I'm here for it. Hephaestus, your phone is always at 19% when you wake up, even after you've plugged it in at night. And then goes on a bit of a rant about Hephaestus making monster-proof phones. It's magic, Darian, okay? The reason they can smell is magic, so it's very powerful magic. Anyway, Zeus, just knowing Zeus is a curse, and that one, very classic, that one. Yeah, that's the list from Darian. There's some very fun ones on there. Great jolly, great lols that I had. We also had some responses from Robert. Dionysus kids would cursing you to feel hungover would be very funny. Or on the more scary side, Zeus's kids curse you with delayed fights. So, to each their own and all that. But yeah. Wow. So the meat of the episode, the meatus meaty. So this idea is actually a really quite old idea in the world of my pod. It's kind of been sitting. I've been sitting on it from very early on, almost the beginning. But this episode is going to be structured similar to the magical items and the cane magic one, where we're just going to kind of go through a couple different ideas and talk about them. But this time we're basically comparing magic performed in the Kane Chronicles with powers that people have in, mainly the Greco-Roman world. We don't have much on powers in Asgard. Yeah, so that's kind of how we're going to go. And we're going to start with magical persuasion and charm speak. So, I know. So, like I said, these are old. So I've had this in a list for a while, a while. So I can't quite remember where these came from. So I was looking. I just did a quick Google on magical persuasion and stuff and just linked to the wiki, the Voident wiki, just as a good starting point. It's always usually a good starting point there. Try and find out where they're used and stuff like that within the books. And it's a good starting point to help that. But there's a funny moment. Was looking this up and got to the Kane Chronicles magical persuasion, and in the trivia section it says similar to charm speak, and I was like, boom. So clearly I'm not the first person to see this connection, but let's actually dig into it a bit further and see how far it goes. See, maybe you can update the trivia section in the wiki. But talking about the wiki, This is how it defines magical persuasion. It is done by lacing one's word with magic so that it persuades the target to do what the magician wants. And then for charm speak, it states, charm speaking is a rare type of hypnotism ability that chosen children Aphrodite and Loki possess. It can be taught to people who are able to use magic like Circe and me. Charm speak can be a very powerful weapon as it can make people do anything on command. Now, see here is that they do the same thing. Like, they may not just be similar, they may literally be the same thing. You may have noticed me emphasizing a couple of words when I was reading out the Charm Speak one, and the big thing is that, so magical persuasion, with all the magician stuff, it's taught, it's not inherent. It's not inherent, it's not a power that you possess, it's something you learn. And the fact that you got very specific things that Charm Speak can be taught. Like, if it can be taught, and it does the same thing, it persuades with words, then it's the same thing. Same power, whether it's taught or inherited, which means it's the same, which means you can link it very quickly back to magic persuasion and say they're the same thing. Basically, the only difference really is because the names and how it came from different cultures. I've got a really bad analogy of like this sort of idea, and it's like the beef and cow thing, where beef comes from the bouffe of the French for cow, because Normans, noblemen spoke it, because cow comes from the Old English, which is peasant, so that's why the meat is a beef. That's why meat cooked is beef, but the animal is a cow, because they would all just be called cow, but people that ate mostly meat were most noblemen and Normans and stuff like that, so they spoke French, or closer to the French of bouffe, so you get to a bit similar like that, where Charm Speak as a word, as a term, came from the Greco-Roman world. Magic persuasion is more literal because it comes from the Egyptians being taught how to persuade people magically, whereas Charm Speak is it's like a synonym basically for magical persuasion. So that's that one. Yeah, quite simple one really. It's quite fun. I'm going to have to turn the gain massively up on this. I am talking quite quietly today. Yeah, then, okay, so we have one other thing to look at today, which is Daunt versus Shadow Travel. And this came from, I don't know if they still listen, but long-time listener Morgan, I'm just going to say that. Morgan messaged back with this idea back after episode 2, Mist versus Daunt. In my reply to them, I say something like, oh, yeah, I've got an idea for powers versus magic episode. So, when I say I've got this, I've been sitting on this one. I've been sitting on this one. This is what they wrote to me, and it kind of explains the theory. So, bear with me, I haven't read the Kane Chronicles, so what I'm saying might be wrong, but you mentioned that Sadie could use the Daunt to travel, and what if that's what shadow travelling is? Also, you had mentioned that the Daunt exists just beneath the mortal world, which is interesting as that would make sense why only children Harrys could shadow travel, as their power comes from the underworld, which would be closer to the Daunt than the mortal world. And to be honest, I'm not going to add anything. Well, except like that different names, because the Greeks don't know the Daunt exists. And the whole how it works is you go into a shadow, then you can travel through from shadow to shadow. But besides that, it's perfectly reasonable to consider that in the world where all these layers and all this kind of links and intermingles, and just how people interact with it are different, and how the magic is like built and layered in beneath the mortal world, there's different layers to existence. It's personally reasonable to go, okay, so we can see Daunt travel as people can move quickly through space, not time, just through space. And then same with shadow travel, they can move quickly through space. What's to say that they don't both use that same layer of magic to do the thing? And just due to Egyptians being magicians, they have a deeper understanding of where the magic comes from and how the magic interacts with the world, rather than the Greeks, who do it all through intuition, feeling, and power, and like innate ability. So, yeah, it's great theory. I can see nothing wrong with it. I'm just gonna be a mouthpiece. Morgan, you finally got your say. Well done. Took long enough, didn't it? And just consider it added to the law library. Yeah. So that's kind of everything I had to run through today. Conclusion: powers of magic are basically the difference is powers are inherited, not taught, but like they are magic. They're just inherited magic. Now, why some people can do magic and others can't, that's another day. We're not doing that here. But if there's anything else you would want us to compare, which this will be the question. This will be the question posted on the Instagrams as well. But yeah, if there's anything you want us to look at and compare, get in touch. I'll put a little Q&A in the Spotify description if you are a Spotify listener. If not, you can email through.t.mist@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram @through_mist. But yeah, just get in touch and I'll add it to a list and we'll do another. And hopefully we can do a Power vs. Magic 2.0 episode with a load of your suggestions and thoughts. Thank you for indulging this theory. If you have any comments on this theory or theories of your own that you want us to discuss, you can email them through to through.t.mist@gmail.com, or you can follow the Instagrams and DM there @through_mist. Make sure to follow the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, whatever you have to do to help get the podcast out there. I've been on, and come back next time as we try to see through the mist. It was a very quiet episode today, wasn't it?